Do we want to take,
Now the question of the loan, we've approved the budget. Is there the need for a loan? Do we need to have that discussion?
well, I've said my piece on it, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna default to.
Okay.
Well, one question, is the budget 7/1 through 6/30? Okay.
Correct. Okay, next item. New business, discussion, possible adoption of Cayucos Fire Advisory Council options. I think everybody is aware that this board commissioned a Citizens Advisory Committee to examine the options available to us for fire protection. The three options they looked at were staffing the Cayucos Fire Protection District at 2.0,
Full-time career.
full-time career firefighters. Second option they looked at was a contract for services from CAL FIRE. And the third option that they looked at was turning over fire protection to the county of San Luis Obispo and dissolving the district. In addition to that, the committee brought back 3 additional options to be reviewed. The fourth option they brought back was what we had before, which was an Amador plan. Amador plan is paying to keep the CAL FIRE station on Cheney open in the wintertime. That provides us with a station guaranteed to be open during that time. It provides us with little or no guarantee of fire protection during the summer. If that engine is sent to a wildland fire in another part of the state, they may or may not be able to cover that station. They looked at that option. The fifth option, third that they came up with, was a blended department of career and reserve firefighters here as the Cayucos Fire Protection District and the associated costs with that. The sixth option that they looked at was
that just current?
maintaining what we currently have with
With an increase in the fire tax.
exactly, with an increase in the fire tax to fully fund it, because as you can tell from our budget discussion, we're
Right on the edge.
yes. So,
Isn't that what C-16 was?
C-16 was basically the full funding. It would have been option 1 to have a full funded career department. In going through the numbers and looking at things, I think there was a misprint on the committee's report. Mr. Curtis sent me an email pointing out that on option 1, the paperwork says it's $1,437,542. That was the year 6 figure, if I'm correct.
Wow. Let's take a look here.
And the year 1, the first year, was $1,337,157.
Right. What I did is I went back and reran my numbers. I found a mistake. Something wasn't calculated right.
Okay.
So that's why I went from 1437 to 1337.
So the decision before this board, and our current operating budget, I should say budget, the monies we'll have from the county for this next fiscal year, in round numbers, is $550,000. That's what we have to work with to fund the department. As you can see, our budget says that we're gonna spend about $537,000. We got about $13,000 in cash left over. And every year for the past 5 years, we've been pretty close. We are one bad day from being out of money. Of these 6 options, 4 of them require a significant tax increase to fund the department. One option, the Amador plan, falls within our budget, but it is substandard protection. We don't have a guarantee of having a fire engine in the neighborhood, in this community, over half the year.
I would say, just to clarify that, it's almost every all year. Even when we're paying Amador, they're not guaranteed in that station 24/7.
Correct.
So that's winter time and summertime, so you're talking not half a year, you're talking a whole year.
So even with the Amador plan, there's no guarantee, although at least the engine is funded. We're paying to fund the engine and keep it assigned to that station, as opposed to what they did last winter, which is shutter the station and there wasn't anybody around. But your point is well taken. There's no guarantee with that. So we've got 4 that involve a tax increase up to, one option is $575,000 or $575 per year per household. Substandard protection, or turning the department over to the county and having the county move in and provide fire protection out of this station. Those are the issues we have before us today.
Will they have fire protection out of this station guaranteed, or we're just hoping?
There is no guarantee, but let's talk about that option first. There is no guarantee, absolutely not. But if we look at it realistically, if we're asking the county to come in and provide fire protection, they're going to need 3 basic things: a fire station, a fire engine, and personnel. The county pays CAL FIRE to provide the personnel. They're going to need a fire station and they're going to need a fire engine. We have those. To close this station, move it somewhere else, means buying property in town, which is cheap, building a fire station, which is cheap. So there's no realistic benefit to the county to move this somewhere else.
I'm gonna give you a sarcasm sign.
I know. In discussions with CAL FIRE, housing a dedicated engine, because this would not be one of their wildland engines, this would be a dedicated engine to the community of Cayucos. Housing it at their station at Cheney is not an option. That station is designed for 1 engine and 1 crew. They do not have the bed space, they don't have the facilities to support a second engine, nor do I believe that a Type 1 engine as we have would even fit in their garage. It's designed for wildland engines.
So they would continue with that.
That is a county
If,
fire
and
station,
we're,
not a
yeah.
county station.
That station down there is a state of California fire station, a state of California engine and crew. And its purpose is to suppress wildland fires. Additionally, they will come on mutual aid to assist us. And if we pay the Amador fee, they will keep that station open in the winter, but it still is a state station with a state engine and a state crew. And that's why it is not an option, I feel, for this community. And I'm getting kind of ahead of my breath.
Can I also comment when this question was asked, when Darren was presenting the report, his statement was that with contract, we can be guaranteed the 24/7 coverage. Now, that was his statement in answer, in response to pretty much that same question, at the meeting. So I just wanted to put that out there, that his research said that.
What is that gonna do to our taxes? Do we
Can
have
we
any idea on
kind
that?
of just maybe go these options one by one? Because a lot of these people
Okay.
were not at that last meeting and haven't seen any of that.
Okay.
It's in there, Mike, I think it's towards the bottom.
And the whole question, let me,
Okay.
let's digress here a little bit.
We do have copies of that whole report. It's
It does not
it's
have,
20 pages long,
it doesn't have the 4, 5, and 6 options in that report.
sort of.
Sort of, it does.
It's,
Well, they are, the numbering has changed, so option 2 is actually number 4.
right, okay,
Option 3 is
hang
number
on,
5.
hang on, I tagged them, I numbered the pages and I tagged them. Of that report that came out, the option 4 for the Amador plan is on page number 14. The option 5, which is a career firefighter, reserve firefighter blend, is on page 16. And option 6, which was fully funding the model that we have now, was on page 21. Okay?
So we talk about the full-time career.
And one of the, to clarify, one of the criteria that the board put forth was that the station be staffed 24/7 by career firefighters.
That's option 4.
No, that was
our
the,
criteria.
the board told the committee that what we wanted to look at was a career, and what that means is, hire dedicated employees, trained, equipped, benefited, full thing.
So that's the one that came in at, well, the revised number today is $1.337 million. That was the basis for C-16, increasing the taxes up. The predicted increase, I believe, under this one was to go for, and I'm gonna deal only in single-family residence numbers right away, just to keep it clear, because otherwise our discussion will go way down in the weeds. Would be approximately, we would have to increase it to $550,000.
525.
525.
525 for single family.
You know, and that would just be first year, basically, because we still need equipment.
That, I did have a reserve included in there for equipment, and it would go up by the 2.5% a year consumer price index.
If the consumer price index does go up. And again, like with the budget, had to make some assumptions in this on what the consumer price index would do, what the property tax percentage increases would do. So, that's all we can deal with. None of us have the magic.
And as you can see, if our budget is around $550,000, those are a long way apart. The second option was contracting straight with CAL FIRE. Again, 24/7 individuals, 2 on duty, each 24-hour period, housed at this station, operating this piece of equipment. And that was,
1.435.
no, $1.28 million, almost $1.3 million.
Right here, there's the email. That was just personnel costs, that didn't,
Oh, well, yes, and.
so that had no
allow
operating
me.
expenses in
In
it. So-
the first year, there were startup costs.
No, that's outside of that. This is the estimated
Station
start.
modification.
This is the annual cost,
17.
1.435. This is the, it's called the option 2 report. It is from Chief Jalbert. But
I
it was,
believe his intention in discussing with him, this was first year.
no, this is the startup expense, so it was 1.28 on personnel costs, $155,000 in operating for estimated total annual expense first year of 1.435, not including $350,000 in startup expenses.
Again, expensive.
Again, a tax increase of $550, $575.
Probably.
You know, my concern is that people of Cayucos said no last year to that kind of increase, and that's where I'm.
Option 4 was the Amador contract, and again, we've discussed that in that level of coverage does not meet the community's needs. Option 5 was kind of a hybrid model using career and reserve firefighters. One of the difficulties we're facing beyond money is attracting and retaining volunteers. We've been fortunate so far in that with a lot of legwork, the chief has been able to keep staff up, but we're borrowing firefighters from other communities. And I think at some point in time, that's going to become more and more difficult as they're honestly not happy with us using their staff outside the community when they really need the help. It's up to the individual, and the individuals are coming over and helping us out because of the stipend that we're paying them. So I think once these other communities, if they raise their stipends or require that they not work for another department, it may be more difficult for us.
And that was, if I remember everything correctly, that model also has about $1 million a year price tag. So, again.
John had estimated this at $994,782.
And that would involve having a paid full-time chief, assistant chief, and captain, or captains, I believe. But the actual rank and file firefighters would still be the reserve. They would not be paid employees. So under this hybrid model, you're paying the officers to be full-time employees, not the firefighters. And I'm not saying that, Mike, as any kind of distinction between officers not being firefighters, but I just wanna, we have to talk about it some way.
We'll just see you coming to your house next time.
Probably Cal Fire if they're open, because they're
Yeah,
next
they're
door.
there. They've been gone for a week and a half.
Okay,
No, they just left yesterday.
maintain the current operating model. To fund this, the estimate was $633,000, $633,350 to maintain the model that we have.
And provide a little bit of an operating cushion.
And that was to increase the fire fee from $100 to $170 per single family resident.
Right.
And
That's like $6 a month.
well,
And
yeah,
the good thing about that, or the positive, is you maintain local control. The negative of that is you still have the difficulty with attracting, training, maintaining volunteers. And the issue with volunteers is it's not that nobody wants to come and help, but the requirements for a volunteer are almost, if not, as strict as they are for a career firefighter. So it requires a tremendous amount of time investment from an individual who already has a job and a family, and this is an avocation, a secondary career for them. So therein lies the difficulty, and again, that requires.
And what happens if you have to replace a fire truck?
I have figures in there.
Hopefully it would be far down the road.
There is money in there, but
it's a
building
lot.
that fund to the point where we would be able to purchase something new, we would have exceeded life expectancy of the current equipment we have. And we have some other equipment that is going to be expensive to replace that is also nearing its life expectancy.
Can't you lease? Can you lease?
There are obviously lease purchase options. There are a lot of different options out there. You just have to have the money.
Are we going to move on this today?
It is my intention.
All right,
I want to
And
point
that's
out,
why
I
we have
would sure
this.
like to get going.
I want to point out on option 5 that it would require an increase of approximately $350 a year for the tax. So you'd be going up about $250
That's the hybrid.
on the hybrid, so it'd be about $20 a month.
The one you were just talking about.
Yes, the hybrid model using combination of career people and reserve. Option 6 that you talked about was just an increase from 100 to 170, keeping the same model and allowing a little buildup of reserves. And all of the models, option 5, I'm coming up with a surplus because I'm putting a fire tax in high enough in the first year so that I'm going to be able to generate a surplus for the first 8 or 10 or 12 years out. Anywhere from like 120,000 down to 70 or 80,000 in the out years, because I've got revenues going up roughly 2.5% a year to 7%, and your expenses are going up more than that, like 3 to 3.5%, 4% in the early years, and then down. That's something that's not necessarily addressed in turning it over to the county, because obviously the county has just announced fairly sizable increases for wages and benefits, and that's far and above what I put into our estimates in terms of like a 5% increase in wages over the first 5 years, and kind of a step 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then down to 3. You know, anything where we're not controlling our costs, we're totally up to the mercy of whatever the state decides to negotiate with CAL FIRE, which then gets passed through to the county, which
Everybody downstream.
right, and at some point, I believe it'll get passed on to the taxpayer.
So,
Now, excuse me, the increases he's talking about, that would be separate from the Amador, so we continue with that?
no,
No.
the Amador is gone.
Totally?
It's gone right now.
Okay.
If we wanted to pursue that option, we were told we'd have to get back on the waiting list.
Hmm.
Because as soon as we canceled it, they have a finite number of those contracts, it was scooped up.
Hmm.
So we'd have to go on a waiting list, so that's
Okay.
an unknown, according to Mr. Carlson. An unknown amount of time until we might work our way back up to the top to be eligible.
Okay.
Folks, we've done our homework. We've looked at the options. We have presented the options. C16 asked for $500. It was defeated. It did not pass. If we choose option 3 to dissolve the district and turn it over to the county, that does not mean that we don't bring things to the table to be able to negotiate what services we want. John raised an excellent point. Salary costs go up. Unfunded liabilities for pensions go up. The other options, we're responsible for those. With the county, if this becomes a county fire station, it goes into the pool with the rest of the county fire stations. Any increase in tax, any increase in costs borne by the county, if the county decides that the people need to pay more for fire protection, it's going to have to go on the ballot, and not by community, it's going to be the entire county of San Luis Obispo. These other options, we're in a boat by ourselves. And right now, we're in a boat by ourselves. We have local control, we have no money, and we have aged equipment. We need some help. As I said earlier, we are literally one bad day away from being in significant trouble. We can borrow an engine from the county if we lose ours. Sooner or later, they want it back. What do we bring to the table? We bring a station. We bring equipment, aged, yes, but we bring equipment. We also have C12. We've already taxed ourselves. Conversations with the staff at the county, that impresses them. We have the fire facility fee money. And honestly, we can't use it, not legally. Yeah, we can tell somebody we're opening the second fire station and buy an engine, and then oops, we decided to close the station and moved it in the garage, but still $250,000 is not going to buy a new engine. And if we get caught, what do we look like? I mean, we're supposed to be above that. But we've got $250,000 to bring to the party. We've got a fire station properly located to provide coverage to this community. We can negotiate for what we want. If we choose this option, and if we start down the road to dissolution, that is going to mean a lot of meetings, public meetings with LAFCO. That's going to mean a lot of negotiation. And halfway down the road, if we don't like what the county's proposing, if they're not guaranteeing that they will provide the coverage we want,
We can stop.
we stopped the dissolution process once already. It really never got off the ground, but the paperwork was filed once.
How do you stop it?
Board resolution,
Take all your stuff off the table.
Mr. Seitz can speak to that.
Right. Once the process is started, you can stop it by basically a resolution that says you want to withdraw your application.
So that $250,000 that's a reserve would be part of the bargaining thing that we take because we're not going to do it.
It has to be used for expansion of services. Us versus them, we bring that to the table. We bring that to the table.
Would we get rent for this building? Rent? Would the county pay us back?
No.
The city?
No.
That doesn't.
No. This would become a county fire station.
But the property, I mean.
And the property would become the county's
county.
instead of the fire districts, because the fire district would cease to exist.
Okay.
I'm as reluctant to hand over the deed as anybody else. But as I said, if you look at it realistically, where would they put a fire station but here?
Here, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if we give them the fire facility fee, that's gonna free up general fund money to make any modifications to this building. They can rob Peter to pay Paul for all they want,
Right.
okay? And not that it's an adversarial situation, but in discussions with the county fire chief, he gave me no indication that he would want to move this fire station.
Okay.
Also, in addition to, the public facilities fee fund, we would be doing something that most of the other places that have fire protection through the county in our county don't do. We would be returning property tax to the county to contribute towards this, and our fire fee. We would be returning that to them. So, with the property, the equipment, the facilities fee, the property taxes and special fees, I think we negotiate from a position of strength. And I would much prefer to negotiate from a position of strength than to know that something happened and we don't have an engine, and now they kind of say, well, you're gonna take what we decided to give you now. The things I would be looking for are using the station. The county minimum staffing is 2.0 or better. Contracting to say, we want 24/7, 365 coverage. Now, that doesn't mean, just like now, when we have multiple calls, that we're not gonna have to bring in somebody else, because, it just happened last week where, we had to make sure Cal Fire went out on a call. Because, it's gonna happen. And, we have one engine right now, basically, with one staffing, so, and that's provided we make sure we got staffing. My requirement would be paramedics, because the overwhelming majority of our calls are medically related. And I think paramedics on board the truck are a lifesaver. And, after all, emergency services is kind of what we're all about. I would like to see, there's been a lot of people who've spent a lot of time over the years putting time in here. Some of them have been fortunate enough to be able to leave and go on to career positions, other places. I would like to see them be able to stay in town with a career path. Instead of knowing that you're gonna have to go out and be employed somewhere else. We would have people here consistently that we knew. One of the things I heard last spring was, I wanna know the person who's picking me up. Well, right now, you don't know who's gonna be on that 12-hour shift today. If we had permanent employees here, you're gonna get to know them pretty darn quickly, because it's gonna be those same people over and over again. I would like to make sure that, because I know it's a hard service to get into, the fire service. So, if we can have a way to maintain a reserve program here, so that people can get some of their initial training and some of their experience and go on with the county or Cal Fire or another county even.
Well, or those
We
that
would
just
do
want
that.
to remain as volunteers, those who want to serve the community. County Fire has that program, and we can negotiate for that.
And taking into account something that John made a point of during the presentation meeting, was that should the county decide to go after a countywide fire tax, that what we are paying already would be taken into account. So that if the county asks for, and I'm just gonna use round numbers here, forgive me for not being perfectly accurate, but if the county wanted $150 single-family residence tax per year, our $100 would already be credited towards that. And I think those are things that we negotiate from strength with, that maintain a high quality of service for Cayucos. And with the county budget behind us, it doesn't mean that we're always running right on the edge. And
When you said you're gonna bring to the table, the personnel that we have here now, would they take a priority to be rehired by the county? How would they, you say they'd be.
We don't
default
have
to
any
you.
permanent employees here. They are all either reserves or fit into the classification of a volunteer or paid call firefighter. So we're not really displacing any employees. Those captains and reserves that we have here now, as I said, I am adamant negotiating that they maintain a PCF program, paid call firefighter program, as they call it, and give those people the opportunity to still work here as volunteers, as reserves.
And how about the office? That's Lori, and who else is in there?
Just Lori.
You? Is she gonna be
Discuss you, why not?
Yeah.
some of the
Negotiation
options
is
said there
just
was
that. You've got to negotiate for what you want. We have to make sure that as many people as we possibly can, we take care of.
Steve, at one point, Cal Fire was gonna rebuild that station down there. Is that still under consideration? And if Cayucos were to dissolve and become part of a countywide contract, what kind of an impact might that have on their decision to rebuild that station?
It's not
It's
budgeted.
scheduled to be rebuilt
My
next
last
year.
conversation
It was supposed to be rebuilt this year, but it had to get redrawing because of some handicap issues. So now it's postponed until next year. That's what the chief told me.
They already had the plans approved, but they just had to tweak them a little.
Yep.
When you say the standard staffing of 2.0 for the county departments is a standard, I believe Station 14 is a county station, and what's their staffing? What is their
They
staffing?
are an all-volunteer station. And they are an all-volunteer station by choice.
Where is that?
That is on Highway 41, dead center between Morro Bay
Oh,
and
that's right.
the little trailer that sits up there.
Yeah.
You know, I want to also just say, during C16 campaign, I received a flyer from the Firefighters Association talking about the different things and attended meetings. That's kind of what prompted to get involved. Their assumption, and I'm going to quote from the now, as your C16 fails, is that the continued operations by Cayucos Fire Protection District are at risk of significant failure both operationally and financially. The district may be forced to dissolve. It has been voted on to dissolve in October of 2015. The measure did fail. You know, the citizens, I mean, to me, the citizens spoke when they said they do not want a $500 fire tax every year, that they can't afford it, and we have to be.
I think that's I think that's
Well, you can
that's
disagree,
going
John,
too
but
far.
no, I don't think so. I've talked to people out there, you know, and that is a big burden for very many people to, you know, on their monthly finances. There are a lot of people.
So is $100 a month for a sewer, and people are going to pony up for that.
Well, you have to, you don't have a choice.
So we want more taxes.
And here we have it.
We don't have enough.
It takes money to run things.
It does.
Those people at CAL FIRE don't work for free.
It's true.
They get paid well, they get good benefits, that's what their union representatives are gonna do. It costs money to operate. This should have been done a long time ago. There should have been an increase in this fire tax years and years and years ago. And this department would have been in a much more sustainable position. You can't go 20 years with no increase and then expect to do it.
There was an increase in 2012.
Right, but it was like 22 years after the first one.
Okay, let's.
So you're trying to play, all I'm saying is I think you are overreaching. I think you're overreaching, and ultimately this is probably going to come down to a vote, which, by the way, we went too premature to have discussions. Tried to get the Cayucos Citizens Advisory Committee to sponsor something to get more people. Middle of the day, we get 20 people to show up. They said, didn't want to preempt things. So now we're going to have a vote, it's going to be passed, and it's gone.
It's not gone.
It's for all intents and purposes, it's gone unless you're willing to commit to have more informational meetings to tell people the ramifications of this and what it means. It can't just be a vote and let's proceed with the
LAFCO process.
With the LAFCO process.
The LAFCO process allows for that, and that is having them dispassionately, not supporting one side or the other, presenting to the community. The community will have and does have the ability to have the input into this.
When you said one side or the other, you mean disillusion or not disillusion?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I talk about process a little bit,
Please.
If the vote is to have the county option, I think thus far you've talked to the county fire chief, but you haven't talked to the county fire chief and the lawyer. So, and at your next meetings, it's going to be a lawyer present, and they're trained to say no. pays to take the county. The county doesn't, in my experience, ever cave. Once they make a demand, they don't back off that demand. So what I would suggest is that you put together, if you go to county option, what you want, what you're giving for it, and you want to be specific. And you present that to the county and schedule a meeting with them. Because you said something that was right on. You said you could be in the middle of this process, not like what the county's doing, and withdraw. What I'm suggesting to you is before you do the petition to dissolve the district, that you get that agreement with the county. LAFCO's going to require that pretty much anyways. And it's going to be a much more responsible application if you say we've got this agreement with the county that basically sets forth that we're going to dissolve as a part of this agreement with the county. That'll go very smoothly in front of LAFCO. If it's the other way, where we're trying to negotiate with the county while we're going through the LAFCO process, it's going to overcomplicate it, and I just think you need that agreement first.
Okay. Now that would be through the county fire chief?
You would want to get direction from a supervisor as to which way he would prefer that you go. Basically tell them that that you're going to try to reach an agreement with the county fire to operate this station, and that you're going to present a proposal for that, and see where the county comes down on it. I think Supervisor Gibson needs to be made aware of the process, and I think if he sees that he's a part of it, you'll get a little more support from him in the process.
I have a question for John too. Have you done any comparisons to other communities like ours as far as what they're paying for CAL FIRE, to have CAL FIRE in the community as their main fire protection? Are there any communities comparable to ours? Just so we know how, as far as what we're paying.
Just for clarification, are you talking about contracting directly with CAL FIRE?
Or through the county. The county fire stations, there are no other county fire stations where the community is charged an extra tax to provide that fire protection. There are two communities that have a self-imposed tax per property owner, and I believe one of them is Los Osos and the other one is San Miguel. And those are the only two I'm aware of that have any kind of a self-imposed tax for fire protection, and those are both independent districts.
Or
Like
CSDs.
CSDs. So none of the other county fire stations,
Pismo and Avalon.
Pismo is the city, but Avila pays nothing other than property tax, and so on and so on and so on.
But the master contract that the county has with CAL FIRE calls for 100.5 full-time equivalent positions. If you divide that into the proposed contract that's coming up for consideration for the 17-18 year, that works out to about $191,800 per equivalent, full-time equivalent. Round it to 200 times 6, which would be the staffing for here, 20. That's $1.2 million. That is the true cost. The true cost to run this station under the contract is $1.2 million. The question is, can we get it with just contributing the fire reserve money, the building, and the $550,000 that we're paying? And for how long? And for how long can we get that kind of a guarantee before, at some point, and I truly believe it, at some point in the future, because of the increases of, call it 5 to 8% a year, which seems to be the going rate from the increases from CAL FIRE, the county will step in and say, citizens of the county, you got two choices. We're gonna put a fire tax on and you can vote for it. And if you turn it down, then there'll be cuts. Because it's gonna take more and more of the general fund. Just putting Cayucos onto this contract adds $600,000 to $800,000 on top of a $18 or $19 million contract. And that includes the $550,000 that we're turning over to them. And that doesn't count the next 7% wage increase for the following year, the 7.5% over 2 years. So it's substantial amount of money to run this. And that's where.
I don't think that's a statement anybody disagrees with. It's a lot of money.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about it's only going to cost us the
Mike, you suggested that
$550.
we're gonna table this until you talk to the county?
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
make it, you kick slightly. You kick the can.
Well, you can do a number of things. You can choose the county option. You say, go negotiate a contract. That doesn't wed you to that option. I mean, if you can't negotiate the contract, you've done what you can, and you don't file the petition, at least initially, then you have to consider your other options. But, you know, the first conversations with the county fire chief were positive. Maybe they'll remain positive, and maybe we'll get a deal that satisfies the board. That contract will be in public. I mean, you'll get to see that contract before the board votes on it. So there will be plenty of time for public comment on that contract. That's what I would suggest, is that if you're going to vote tonight, that you vote the county option, and then direct whoever you direct to go attempt to negotiate the contract. If you're going to want to decide what the terms of that of your proposal is going to be, you want to have that ready and submitted with all the numbers that support it, including what we've been talking about tonight or this afternoon, and then let Bruce Gibson know. Ask him for process information. How do we proceed? Do we talk to the county fire chief? Do we talk to the county administrative officer? Who do we talk to about this? And let him kind of direct the process. And when you get to the final meeting, you ask him to be present at the meeting so that he can weigh in, because the only people that the county council listens to are the supervisors.
So we're gonna vote tonight to dissolve the department and without public input.
Oh, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying if that's what you
Well,
do.
these two are gonna do that.
Well,
Guarantee you right now.
well, I'm not taking sides in a discussion, but I'm just reading the tea leaves, basically. So anyways, if that's what you want to do, that's the way to go about doing it. If you want to kick it down the road, you can still pursue that contract. Not just like that. I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Well, deciding to dissolve it tonight doesn't mean because it's going to be dissolved immediately. I mean, there's going to be a lot of work involved.
A lot.
Before anything is actually done. But you've got to take the first step if you're going to go that route. But it doesn't mean it's done deal.
So is it possible to word it in such a way that you choose to pursue this as your first option until that option becomes a viable possibility through a contract agreement, or then to step back and revisit other options? So that I guess what I'm saying is that's slightly a step short of saying you're voting to dissolve it, but you're voting to pursue that option until it either materializes or disappears.
I think that's a good question for Mike, because he's dealt with the county officials and he understands their mindset. In other words, would it be better for someone from the board, they agree that they're going to conduct negotiations, but they stop short of actually authorizing a public vote right now where they vote and put themselves on the record as dissolving? Because I would think you would be giving away some of your negotiating power. Whereas if you just go to them and basically do the same thing, but you've not committed yourselves in public and in writing, because what's gonna happen is, this is gonna get out, Cayucos board votes to dissolve thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly what
I
I'm saying.
mean, kind of like what they call a back channel in government. Not like Trump and his son-in-law, but you know what I'm saying. You're doing it behind. You're negotiating behind closed doors without the pressure of this.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to have a hard time with a group sitting down with the fire chief to negotiate a probability. I'm gonna need some firm ground to stand on to negotiate with the fire chief. He's not going to want to talk to me.
That's why I'm asking for my.
Yeah, and I will.
I understand your point.
First of all, the board has discretion under the various options to do whatever it wants tonight. So you could basically say pursue the county option, and knowing that as a part of that option, if we reach that agreement, it's going to entail the dissolution of the district. And that would be part of the negotiating points and the county would want that. They don't want this district going on while they're doing so. So just by negotiating with the county to take over the service, that implies dissolution of this district. And if we are able to reach an agreement that's palatable to the board, then that's the way that we're going to go. But that application, the LAFCO, at that point would be essentially a done deal because you've reached the agreement with the county that says the county will take your place when you're dissolved, and basically ensures that process will conclude that way.
Are we taking public comment, or are we just kind of just doing it? I'm Linda Van Fleet, and I have 2 comments. I feel that the county's going to need something fairly defined in your resolution, that dissolution is seriously being pursued, not just let's go negotiate with the county, because I think they've resisted that line. They don't want to spend the time, basically, to develop a budget, not knowing that your board is serious about pursuing dissolution. So I just suggest that your resolution say that dissolution is your first choice, subject to reaching a satisfactory agreement with the county. The other thing I wanted to set straight was just a slight misquote, I believe, because I have this straight from the tax collector. There are only 3 communities in our county where people pay an additional fire tax. It was brought up to San Miguel. That is not correct. It is Cambria, Los Osos, and Cayucos. And we pay the highest at $103 for single-family residents. In Cambria, so long as your house doesn't exceed 3,600 square feet, it's $92.14. And in Los Osos, it's $80.80. And we're the only 3 that have chosen to give an additional fire tax. So yes, I think that we are perceived well in the county as having done what we can to bring something to the table to help them to work out our expenses.
And Linda makes a really good point, because I do know that both of those communities have community service districts, which they run their own fire, whether they're a contract with the county or have their own district, and both of them have financial issues at the moment.
The county must know what we're doing, talking about.
The county is fully aware of, we've had conversations.
Yes.
They called me to ask what is going on, what the intention is. And several other community services districts are watching what we're doing.
Correct.
If we decide to go this way, we need to not dawdle. Or we may not be the first
First, yeah.
of many.
And that's going to take a lot of work. you got a lot of, you got 6 months or better down the road.
Exactly, but if we are going to do this, we need to be started first and we need to move forward.
We want to be the first one in line.
I think that's.
Well said.
I have a question. If you start that LAFCO process, is the only way out to write a resignation letter? And say that you decided not to do it? Because it was my understanding that it had to be, when they have their public hearings, there had to be a show of so many people that are rejecting it, that then they would consider.
The protest vote.
Yeah, the protest.
Right, well,
Otherwise it would just go through.
we're the applicant, and we would always have the ability to withdraw our application. I just use resolution because you're gonna need a resolution to start it, you're gonna need a resolution to stop it.
And then write the resolution to start it.
We write the resolution. But if you take that option that you have for the county and seeking dissolution, I think that probably makes the most sense if that's the way you want to go, not bifurcating it. If you're gonna do the county option, which is contract with the county and dissolve, that makes more sense, as Van Fleet said in the back, because that gives the county notice that it's your intent to dissolve. And that perhaps provides a little more negotiating, at least certainty for the county side of it.
They would know that we are serious about this.
Right.
I would agree. We need a motion to move forward.
I would also suggest that you have a backup plan in the event that you feel like you cannot get an agreement with them.
Absolutely.
You should have it before you even begin negotiations. Have an idea what you're gonna do.
I do.
Okay.
Well, that's why we passed the budget today. Let's always have that as a fallback plan. Hold on, I'm trying to get my words.
Look at me, I'm not making a motion.
No, I wasn't looking at you for a motion input. I haven't heard much from you.
Well, I would like to keep our department.
I do too. But I don't see how.
Yeah, I know you don't. I know one thing, you turn this over to the county, it'll be fucked up in 2 years. I know how they work. That's all I want to say. I'm willing to pay more in taxes.
What do other communities in the San Luis Obispo County, have they fallen apart since they've been serviced by Cal Fire or whoever the county provides? Are they messed up totally? Do they get services?
I have not read in the paper of any fire station that has had difficulty. I don't know of any unstaffed equipment. I don't know of any unstaffed stations.
So
Maybe
maybe
you're
it's
trying for
unknown,
your
but
exchange.
it's working in other places. Why wouldn't it work here?
All firefighters, chief, captain, the young lady that was here, Cal Fire, Los Angeles, New York, every fireman is proud of what he does.
Yeah.
They work really hard doing what they do. They are very loyal to the organization. They're very loyal to their communities. No, I'm not aware.
Yeah.
And in 37 years, I was never aware, 35 years, I was never aware of any fire station where the crew did not support the community. where the management did not support crew.
So how does our tax base in Cayucos compare to other communities?
You just told you.
There's three of them. One
No,
was-
no, but I'm saying as far as tax base, what they tax us to be.
Well, they tax us more, but we're a smaller base, therefore we have less money.
Yeah, but,
We have 3,000 people.
yeah, well, I know.
They have like 10.
The assessed value is about $1.1 billion, and the fire, or the property tax revenue we get is like 0.005,123%. And what's happening is other areas of the county are growing faster, and it's all put together in a big thing, and the ones that are growing faster, they see a percentage that goes up, and Cayucos, because we're not growing, we can't, limited, our percentage kind of tends to stay, more or less flat.
Our percentage, the percentages stay the same, it's because the assessed valuation. Now, the thing is, we are an extremely high assessed valuation.
Yes, that's what I was.
And if, John, if you'll recall, if you look through Ed's website the same as I did, our reimbursement percentage is one of the lowest in the county. Now, that was negotiated in the 70s after Prop 13, but our percentage is one of the lowest. Where's the rest of our property tax money going?
That's what I was wondering.
Not only are, because of the property tax, you look at the, and again, not that it applies to fire service, but what this community generates, the TOT tax that we generate for the county, property tax that we generate for the county, all of that other monies that come from this community, so I agree it's gonna cost more money, but this community brings a lot more money to the table. And it's not just a fire station and equipment. When in negotiation, bring forward what we contribute to the county that this little community does not get back in the form of additional services. It's the community taking care of this, the community taking care of that. So, I have a motion, Hope.
We've always been the golden egg.
And it's
It
time
looks
that,
into the general fund.
it's time that the general fund pays back.
Okay. So I move the board, and you can correct me if I get the wording wrong, please, Mike. I move that the board expresses its intent to dissolve the Cayucos Fire Protection District and turn fire services over to the county of San Luis Obispo, and authorize Stephen Beatler to negotiate with the county to reach an agreement based on the criteria listed earlier in this meeting. Or I can spell those out if you think that would be.
I think you need to spell them out.
Which would be using the current station, a minimum of 2 career staffing or better, 24/7, 365 coverage, paramedics, a career path, benefits, maintaining a reserve program, taking into account our current fees, if there are future fire fees assessed through the county, and office staff.
Do I hear a second?
Nope.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? Now let's do a roll call.
Roll call. Cheryl?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
Motion passes.
Let's go. Basketball game starting.
I've lost my.
July
agenda.
6th?
July 6th.
3:30 for the next meeting?
I won't be here for that meeting.
July 6th, 3:30 here at the fire station.
With the hearing.
Pardon?
With the hearing.
Yes.
2 hearings, don't we have to do one on the pay change also? Can you put those in one ad?
No, not even gonna add. You two
I didn't stop it and adjourn it.
Tell you right now.
Hey,